Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and we're focusing in on an amazing client's observation, very profound statement that she made in a session earlier today that I want to make for the topic of this video because I thought it really hit not only as a beautiful expression, but as really the core of the hurt that is associated with a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath. And the comment that she made that why it hurts so much is because you can't love the people that you love. Or she really stated, you're not allowed to love the people that you love. And that's so profound, that's so eloquent, that's so creative, and it's so global, meaning that it really hits at the core of the issue. In other words, when individuals in your family or extended family are narcissistic or psychopathic, they are extremely or intensely self-absorbed. They tend to have a aura or an energy around them that is really all about them. In other words, it's an energy that pushes out and it's very one-directional. They want other people to gloat in their presence. They want other people to constantly admire them. They want, to speak in a very one-directional. In other words, she describes it like as a cocked crow. In other words, they talk at people versus with people. And oftentimes the narcissist, as we've described here in videos, or a psychopath, they are really in a situation where they have an insatiable need to be admired. They have an insatiable addiction to have power or control or dominion over others. And so they engage in a lifestyle which is very much all about that. So they engage in a lifestyle which is very one-directional. They seek constant supply. In other words, people who give them eye contact, who are seduced by their charm, their money, their looks. It's like a consuming, the way I describe it very much is like, it's like a consuming fire. In other words, they always want people to glow. They always want people to bask in their glow. They always want people to admire them. They always want people to, give them attention, give them the floor. It's not a shared space. It's not a shared experience. And so they want you to constantly engage in that, which is very hurtful because A, it's disrespectful. It is showing a lack of empathy and a lack of humility. It is instead showing pride. And as this client has so aptly stated in the Bible, that, pride is a sin. It's a sin to be prideful. And if you really think about it, because really pride is a lack of humility, it's a lack of humbleness. And that is really what gets people in troubles in relationships, in their career, in their profession, in their family. Because pride, if you think about how it becomes an error with people who are like athletes, they talk about an athlete who's so arrogant, their muscles, their plays, whatever, and then they showboat, I think that's the term, and then they end up fumbling. They end up celebrating, out of pride and out of arrogance, and they end up making the fumble, missing the throw, missing the play. Those, actors we hear about in Hollywood, in film, stardom, the people who are, on a whole nother atmosphere, a whole nother level of earnings, and they get very arrogant, very prideful, and it's all about them. And, they end up making mistakes then in their relationships, making judgment, errors of judgment, thinking that their life is going to be always like this, and then something happens. They suffer a loss or a financial misstep, and that gets them into trouble, and it's very one-directional. These individuals oftentimes I have a vast experience with this population, and just knowing that these people, especially the narcissists who crave the attention, who are bullying either with their money, their physique, things of that nature, that oftentimes, they have a craving for this status. And so if you think of narcissism almost as, like they're operating out of that extreme self-importance. And furthermore, that, they want that attention. They want you to always acknowledge them, and they cannot give like in return. So they cannot engage in humility. They don't engage. If you think about the narcissist, humility is kind of coming into a state of being, a state of groundedness, and it's a state of reverence for really, kind of the bigger inner workings. In other words, it's to give up that need to control and, learning that there's a higher power in life and allowing that to direct you and carry you through your day and your interactions, which oftentimes the narcissist is not engaging in. They think it's all about them. And they can continue to foster that because of, oftentimes they've been supported and reinforced in that. People are seduced by them and they want to stay in that false light. So it is very difficult, and you cannot always engage in love with these people. These people are oftentimes not very loving. And even though you might need, wish, desire, hope to have the love, it is not fair. You can't always have a two-way interaction with them, even though you might desire it. And you feel like you maybe want to tell them that. But oftentimes they are not open to receiving your message. They're going to have a wall. And to furthermore realize that, that is the wall that divides, and divisiveness is really one of the main causes of evil or, downfall of productivity and unhappiness, is that divisiveness. And oftentimes we hear about the smear campaign of the narcissist or the psychopath and how they want to, snide other people. They want to crush other people's light to have their light grow larger. And so those people who are all about the status, it's all about them. They're not able to engage in that level or energy of humility or discussion or really love, which is the absence of fear. And it's the experience of love, joy, bliss, and excitement for life, and be able to engage and take others in on that level. So it is very, very, that is really the core of the pain. And realize that you are loving. They might not always be able to receive or engage in because of their disorder. And oftentimes you cannot change it either. And also oftentimes you might need to get into a state where you're constantly feeling like you're having to cope with, which is not living. If you're constantly having to cope with them, then you're not living your life. You're always adjusting. And so now you want to not only have the understanding, but find the ways that you can proactively be yourself and not contribute to the divide. Adjust any sort of statements or things of that nature which might be divisive or which might be reactive to their core personality. I liken it to like this. If you can have another example, it's, for example, as if this narcissist, if you think of it like as someone who is homosexual or who has, another disease or disorder, let's just use a coming out phrase for as if, someone is homosexual, i.e., they're not heterosexual and they're to come out and say that. And all the different personality traits and physiology that was part of them, you would ultimately have to accept, and maybe, have disappointment, maybe that they weren't going to have kids in the same way or a family in the same way, or they weren't like you in certain ways, that they had a certain personality flair, a certain je ne sais quoi about them that makes them the way that they are, the way that they talk, the way that they think, the other people who they engage with. So it's kind of like feeling, not a kinship. This might be a little bit difficult, but then kind of looking globally and saying, okay, this is who they are. Obviously, you would not try to change someone who was homosexual. You would then, begin to understand and embrace their differences and create a bridge, and then you'd become loving and being able to engage and have a very, awesome and fun and exciting relationship because you get to learn about, someone who is different, and be able to embrace those. And oftentimes, that is kind of the situation. If you can say, I cannot, just like I would not try to change someone who is homosexual and convert them, or convert someone of a different religion, or, convert somebody to become totally different than who they are. I'm going to give up that struggle. It is erroneous and too stressful, too much pressure on me to try to change that. And so I'm going to let that go. And furthermore, I am going to engage in really allowing myself to participate in situations, gatherings, events, and my lifestyle in general in ways that I'm free of that pressure and free of that hurt and free of trying to correct and change and be feeling insulted or less than by, because it's repeating that message, which you feel is like an assumption that, that you have made. And furthermore, that, one is getting separated or isolated because of that. And so it's acknowledging that these people can't love in the way that you need. So it's like your needs here are what needs to be addressed. And that's the bigger picture. And that's where then you look beyond and find ways to then engage in love outside of, those people who cannot love in that way, and begin to form relationships where you can and create more of a bridge in that situation, so people can attend to and get to know you, find out about you, care about you, and be respectful. And we're going to leave it at that. We're going to go a little bit more in depth in future videos, but I thought that was a very beautiful and eloquent way of describing the relationship with a narcissist. And furthermore, the solution is to love the people that you love. Love them for who they are, even if it's just loving them in your heart. That's a good place to start, and then opening up that so that you furthermore are able to feel positive and uplifted even around them, because you're seeing it for what it is and realizing that you're going to now live in that, take it to the next level or the next stage of your life where you're able to be around them and sort of use a different perspective, a different blueprint, a different even language that you're used to engaging in them with. If I know we have a lot of viewers who still have these people in their life, and so it's learning new vocabulary or new connection of words that cause you to ask different open-ended questions versus coming from the hurt. And then learning to distinguish when you're coming from the hurt and how you're then interacting with them, and then learning to make little adjustments or discipline your interaction with them. So it's engaging in more of an acceptance of how they are and the fact that they are limited in the way that they can love, acknowledging their limitations, and furthermore, engaging in other more positive observations and almost being, supportive, and then begin the journey, because it takes time. But eventually in your future, you will then be able to engage in a protected, self-protected and protective of them manner, where it's more positive and embracing of their differences or how they are different. And then learning about how to really kind of love globally them without judgment, and seeing them for who they are, and then allowing things to grow. But furthermore, definitely encouraging you to carve out then relationships where you can love freely and be loved, where it isn't such a struggle. Because oftentimes the struggle comes when you're trying to love and engage with people who are oftentimes not loving because of their lack of empathy and their extreme self-importance, with which is just the personality, is who they are. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.